For my honors project for EPWS 325V, I've made this video looking at and researching ant behavior. I thought, what better way to observe ant behavior than to get my own ants? So I went to Hobby Lobby and I bought Uncle Milton's ant farm. The species that is delivered for these ant farms is the California harvester ant, or Pogonomyrmex californicus, which is of the genus Pogonomyrmex, consisting of harvester ants, and is of the family Formicidae, including all ants. Ants are part of the order Hymenoptera, shared with bees and wasps, and the order Hymenoptera belongs to the class Insecta, of course being insects. Insects are arthropods, and arthropods are animals. Cool. Now that that's out of the way, I ordered my ants, and they came in this little plastic tube with only a dehydrated carrot. A lot of them were dead when I got them, which is unfortunate, but I managed to get the alive ants in the farm after an exhausting battle, defending the entrance and putting them in the fridge a couple of times. Following the instructions, I started the tunnel for them. They didn't start digging for a couple of hours because they were too busy trying to climb up and escape and then falling on their abdomens. In this picture, you can see all the body parts of their dead sisters, ants are girls by the way, that were in the tube. Cannibalism could have been a factor in this. I mean, when I get hungry enough on a road trip. Cannibalism is actually a known ant behavior. It's a way for them to recycle nutrients when food is lacking and to stop the spread of diseases. Queen ants will eat infected eggs at the first sign of any illness and recycle those nutrients to make more eggs. In social insects like ants, cannibalism mainly takes the form of necrophagy, which is eating nestmates that have already died. This is rare, though, but studies show necrophagy activities increase when ants are faced with starvation. There's actually a really cool case where a colony was discovered trapped in an old nuclear weapon bunker, and they survived for years through cannibalism. Workers would get trapped in the bunker through an outlet, unable to return to the mother nest that was above. Since I didn't want to starve my ants, I gave them a big piece of blueberry that they liked way more than their carrot, which I would later regret because they end up burying the blueberry in the sand. This could be because of the moisture and the stickiness, or they were saving it for later, but they haven't dug it up yet. For the amount of ants in my farm, I way overfed them, but once they were all fueled up with blueberry juice, they started tunneling. Ants generally create nests consisting of underground chambers connected by tunnels. They use their mandibles to excavate sand and soil, and they have great coordination with one another. You might think, how can ants dig all these tunnels without the sand collapsing? Do they do crazy ant math to figure this all out? At least that's what I was thinking. Studies on ant tunneling shows that ants are able to tunnel because of force redistributions due to granular arching. Basically, when there's a tunnel present in the sand, the force around the tunnel experiences an arching effect. This figure visualizes how force chains wrap around tunnels and how ants will move particles that don't heavily affect the force network in the soil. So, ants don't strategically choose which pieces of sand to move. They've evolved so that their tunnels are just made to be tunneled. Okay. My ants have never made any chambers, but they did store sand and dead ant parts in these side compartments made for connecting other farms together with tubes. I experimented with the provided tube by connecting the farm to itself, and that turned out to be a pretty bad idea, because the ants started storing sand in there and getting stuck, and it was hard to remove without them escaping. Here, one of my ants is carrying a dead ant through the tube. Moving dead bodies around is an ant behavior called necrophoresis. This is a sanitary strategy where ants move dead bodies outside of the nest or to a discard pile. It helps keep colonies safe from pathogens and disease. Some species have designated undertakers who perform necrophoresis, but any worker ant can do it. When it comes to diseases, it has been observed that uninfected corpses are ejected from nests by a more generalized group of workers, so anyone will clean them up, while infected corpses are carried out by specific workers. These specific workers clean themselves way more often than normal workers do, suggesting there are hygienist jobs in ant colonies. Actually, ants are incredibly hygienic. Ants cleaning themselves was something I didn't expect to see when I got my ant farm, but they do it all the time. They even clean each other, which is cute, but these two were blocking the tunnel for all the other ants. Get a room. Ants have specialized cleaning structures on their front legs that they use to clean their antennae. If their antennae get too dirty, it disrupts their pheromone trails, which is their primary source of communication and navigating the world. Their cleaning structures have 3 parts: bristle, comb, and brush. Each layer is for removing different sized particles so that the ants can clean their antennae in a single stroke. Something interesting I saw when I was watching my ants is that when I got too close and breathed near the air holes, they would freak out and start running everywhere. I purposefully blew air in the farm to see if that was the cause, and they freaked out again. I did some internet digging to see if this is a common thing and to find out why they have this panic response, and I could not find any scientific studies or research papers specifically about ants panicking from bursts of air. I know ants release a so-called alarm pheromone to alert others, but I didn't understand why they were becoming alarmed. I found that other people were making the same observation I was. I found this YouTube video posted by futurebird through a post on formiculture.com of an ant farmer testing blowing air with and without CO2, her breath, on her ants. This video is linked in the description of this one, but here's a clip of the experiment.
My ants with a puff of regular air. As you can see, they moved around a bit, but they're basically fine. For the second part of the experiment, I breathed into the photography puffer so that it would contain CO2 and hit the ants again. This time the reaction was much more severe. I suspect that ants can detect CO2 and associate it with large vertebrate animals that may be a danger to the colony.
I found another YouTube video, also linked below, through a Reddit post made by A. Avtansky, where he blows air towards ants from far away so there is no sudden burst of air. When his breath reaches them, they scatter everywhere. Social insects, including ants, are known to have evolved CO2 detecting systems because of the close quarters and high CO2 levels in their homes. For example, bees are seen fanning air through their hive, which regulates the temperature but also the CO2 levels inside. Ants and termites mostly don't have wings, so they optimize ventilation with nest openings. Since it's been shown that ants will design their nests based on CO2 levels, and ants are able to detect CO2, it is reasonable to suggest that human breath can evoke panic pheromones and ant freakouts. I mean, growing up, I did hear from a teacher that you should hold your breath around wasps or they will be aggravated. I think this is something similar. Having my own ant farm has made me really fall in love with these creatures and their behaviors. I've been constantly researching formicariums and ant keeping in different types of ants ever since I received my own California harvester ants in the mail. There are so many other ant behaviors that I didn't discuss, like aphid herding, or fungus growing, or super colonies, or exploding. And this YouTube presentation has been so fun to make. Maybe I'll make more for fun. Thank you for watching, whoever you are grading my assignment. Here are the sources I cited, which I will also put below in the description.
Okay, next up is Lizzie and her fire ant farm.
That's right.
Lizzie, we talked about the fire ants, you know, that they have a tendency to bite people.
Only my enemies.